What are 5 important reasons why you need to learn how to conduct great interviews? Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari. I'm a strategy consultant, and on this channel I want to help you to learn the necessary skills in consulting that you need for your first 2 years in consulting to have a successful career, but also to live a balanced life. And today I want to explain 5 reasons why it is important for you to learn interviewing techniques. And my new project started 3 weeks ago, and I'm a project manager now. So this means that the first weeks were mainly busy with, organizing the project, getting to know the client, having some meetings to understand the situation. But the other half of my days have been busy with conducting a lot of interviews. And conducting interviews with the client, with experts, is a huge part of your job in consulting. So today I want to talk about 5 reasons why you need to learn interview techniques to conduct great interviews. And let's jump directly into it. And reason number 1 is that interviews are an essential part of the problem solving process in consulting. And you know that I love to talk about problem solving because this is the core of every consulting project. It's that you as a consulting team or you as a consultant solve a problem. And there are always 3 steps. It's structuring the problem, then it's analyzing the problem, and then it's to develop the solution. And in every phase or in almost every phase of the problem solving process, interviews can be an essential part. So especially at the beginning, when you try to structure the problem, when you try to develop hypotheses, if you try to understand the situation, then conducting interviews is such an essential part, it's such a crucial part as a consultant. So very often, if you start a project, you conduct a lot of interviews with different departments from the client, you conduct interviews with experts. And the purpose of that is that you understand the situation, that you understand the problem, and that you derive hypotheses for your project. But also in the second phase, if you do the analysis, if you want to test some of your hypotheses in consulting, then also you can conduct interviews. So for example, you talk to a certain department, to test your hypothesis or to get some data that you need to test your hypothesis. So it's also an important part of your phase number 2 of your analysis phase. And then in the third part, you mainly are busy with doing the presentation or preparing the presentation, but still there you can conduct interviews in order to figure out what kind of story do you need or stuff like that. So as you see, the conducting interviews is an essential part of the entire problem solving process in consulting, and that's reason number 1 why you should learn great consulting interview techniques. Then reason number 2 is that interviews are the most important source of information in consulting. And you know that in consulting you have many kind of sources that you can use. You can use annual reports, you can use databases, you can do web research, you can take a look at financial statements, and it always highly depends what kind of information you need to solve your problem. But there is one source that you need in almost all of your cases, and this is conducting interviews. Because the thing is that the most valuable information, you don't find that in the statements, you don't find that online. The most important and the most relevant information is always, or you can only get that from people. And this is the kind of informal knowledge that you need, and this is sometimes the kind of information that you need to solve the problems in order to have a successful project. So this means that the most important information you typically get from people within the organization, because they know all the interdependencies, they know what went wrong in the past, they know the history of the company, they have really deep insights into how the organization works, so they can really give you the kind of important information that you need in order to solve the problem. And that's why it is so important to conduct great interviews, because the most important source of information is basically to talk with people. Then reason number 3 is that conducting good interviews is not easy. And if you had already the pleasure to conduct some interviews, then you will know that it is not easy to conduct interviews. And the reason is that in most cases you want to have some information, and that is sometimes for the other person kind of uncomfortable to tell you, because typically as a consultant you are there to get a better understanding of problems, to get an understanding of, what goes wrong, and in order to, provide a solution. And very often, especially if you talk to people in the organization, there are some emotions involved. So maybe people want to hide something. Maybe, people don't want to admit that something is going wrong. Maybe people are afraid, because you're a consultant and, this might threat their job, for example. So there are a lot of, emotions involved. Also, sometimes it's very difficult to keep the people focused because, if they start talking about something, they want to talk about something else, they drift away, and they, start talking about something that has nothing to do with your project, and you only have a half an hour left. So it's very difficult to conduct great interviews. And this is also a reason why it is so important to learn the necessary interview techniques that help you to, conduct a good interview, to get the information that you want to have in a very short amount of time. And that's another reason why it is so important to learn interview techniques. Then reason number 4 is that it's a key skill for all consultants. And as I said at the beginning, on every level in consulting, you will be involved in the problem solving process. So interviewing is important not only for interns. In those cases, if you're an intern, you most likely will be the one, who takes the notes, who makes the transcripts. If you're a consultant, you will probably the one, or a consultant or senior consultant, who leads the interviews. But also if you're a project manager, or even sometimes if you're a partner, you're still involved in interviews. So this means that across, the entire career path of consulting, interviews are and stay a very crucial part of your job. And that's another reason why you should learn interview techniques. And last but not least, it's a typical task that's given to juniors. So if you start in consulting, you can almost, you almost have a guarantee that in your first years, you will be heavily involved in conducting those interviews, because this is something that, typically juniors do. As I said, you're most likely to take notes at the beginning, and, the more experience you get, the more responsibility you get in actually conducting the interviews. But nevertheless, especially in your first 2 years of your career, you can, there's almost a guarantee that you will be involved in interviews. And that's another reason why you need to learn interviewing techniques. So with that being said, those are the 5 reasons. So I hope this showed you that learning good interview techniques is a very important part of management consulting, and especially of your first years in consulting. Do you have already some experience with conducting interviews? What is your experience? What are the techniques that help you? So please leave a comment below. I would be really interested in that. Also, if you want to learn more about, how to prepare for your consulting career, then please check out the free masterclass in the link below. Also, if you want to see more videos that help you to advance your consulting career skills, then subscribe to this channel and leave a thumb up. And with that being said, I wish you a very successful day. Hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.